Hey, welcome everybody to the Conscious Cruiser. Thanks for joining us today for episode number 76. We're going to be talking about the know before you go approach to being prepared for a cruise ship accident or disaster. And with me today is Scott from Controversial Cruising, Alisa from Alisa's Adventures in Cruising, and I'm Chet from Sea Lake Journeys. And we're going to get into this topic right after this.
Disasters.
Welcome into the Conscious Cruiser podcast, the know before you go approach to cruising and travel. The smartest cruiser is the Conscious Cruiser. And your conscious casters, Alisa, Chet, and Scott.
Hey, good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are, everybody, because this is an international show right here. We are the winners of the Meet and Eye Award last year. We're all wearing our Meet and Eye shirts today. For those of you on Spotify who can't see us, we're waving around our little trophies that we got.
Best podcast of the year 2025. That's us, Conscious Cruisers, Meet and Eye. Lovely shirts, lovely couple. Go on and give them some love because all they do all year for us is give us YouTube creators love all year round, and especially with the award ceremony coming up very, very soon at the end of the year. We all know that that's fastly approaching. So yes, go on over to Meet and Eye and make sure to give them some love, some likes, some subscribes, and all that.
Maybe order their new book.
That's right. Simple Sips. Simple.
Is it a coloring book?
No, it's a cocktail and mocktail book.
Oh, well, that sounds good. Yeah. And also an invitation to subscribe right here to the Conscious Cruiser. And if you're on Spotify, join us over there as well. We appreciate it. Help this channel grow a little bit and become even more international. Maybe we'll become intergalactic. I don't know. Any Martians out there listening, leave it in the comments and we'll get back to you. So let's kick off this topic today of how to be prepared for an accident or disaster at sea. Hey, why not? We hear about them once in a while. It's rare, but it does happen.
Right.
So the first question we got for today is, have you ever been on a cruise ship that had an accident or a disaster? Or if not, have you ever heard of such a thing happening? And of course, we're going to start with the smartest person on our panel today. And obviously, that's Alisa.
Well, luckily, I don't have any firsthand experience with disasters aboard the cruise ships. And like you said, we know they happen and they try to prepare us for what to do in case of an emergency, but we don't want to actually see one in real life. So I have not. I've heard of the big ones like we all have through the news and I guess assorted Netflix documentary type situations, but have not experienced anything firsthand. And I'm very, very thankful for that.
Swab the poop deck. Oh, no.
You just got to keep cruising.
Yeah, you do wonder if it's just a matter of numbers, eventually.
No. Scott, what do you think? You ever seen one, heard tell of one, anything like that?
Let me tell you, there was this disaster on the last cruise I was on. It was 2:00 in the morning, 2:15. I rolled up to get me some pizza, and it was closed. What a disaster. I had missed it by 15 minutes, so I had to go back to my room and order room service. Disaster averted.
That happens. That does happen.
No.
Did anybody survive?
No, I think
He's here to tell the tale.
I think I left the pizza outside the room, to tell you the truth. I probably fell asleep. Also another disaster. No. I think the most disaster that, luckily, knock on wood, none of my tables really are wood except that one. But luckily, I think the only actual disaster that I've been a part of or emergency is your medical evacuation. I think I've had two of those, not myself, but two of those for a cruiser that was cruising, obviously fell ill, needed more medical attention than the ship could give. And obviously they make announcements to stay away from whatever part of the ship which is usually the front where they have the landing pad
Mm-hmm.
where they can come. So yeah, obviously one of the times was much more before cell phones, so nobody was out there, filming or anything like that. The second one was a couple years ago, so I'm sure somebody got it on film or something or whatever, because that was of time of social media. But I would say those are the only two real disasters. And again, you want to know what? We never really think that could be us, or it will be us, or it will be a loved one until it actually does happen or does become a loved one, right? So you always just have to think beforehand, just make sure we're all there to have fun and we're all there to have partying, right? But we can overindulge, we can overdo things, right? Just make sure you're looking and watching where you're stepping, right? It could just be you tripped over a step you didn't see because you were I don't know, one too many drinks in or something like that. Just be mindful, always be prepared, because you never think that it could be you in a disaster until it is. Okay, so just be prepared.
Yeah.
Well, as far as ship accidents and disasters, there's plenty of stories out there, and I was amazed at how many different ways there are for ships to have accidents and disasters. You look at the Titanic hit an iceberg. The Costa Concordia hit the reef; they got too close to shore, and then the poop cruise, the Carnival Triumph, that actually started from an engine fire. Right. And then you've had other ones that just got stuck in storms, like the Viking Sky in 2019.
Mm-hmm.
And then the MSC Oceanos in 1991. It just got stuck in a storm that the waves were coming into the ship and it was flooding the ship. So there's all kinds of ways. And then there's also norovirus outbreaks, big ones like that. And then, of course, the C word, the old COVID there, I think that is a ship side disaster as well. A lot of people died on some of those ships, and so there's so many ways. There's so many things we have to look at to be prepared. It's like, wow, we got to be prepared for that and that. So it's not always the ship sinking. Sometimes it's a ship fire or a bad storm, things like this happening, or sickness. And I think it would behoove us to at least have it somewhere in our mind, a little bit of preparedness. We want our 99% of our attention on vacation, but I think we need to reserve that 1% for what if, the what if situations of being on it. And I had a friend who was on an Alaskan cruise once years ago, and the cruise ship, the wind just blew it as they was coming into the terminal, the dock, and they just caved the whole dock in. Just crunch. They couldn't get off the ship because it caved the whole dock in. And he said when he looked out, he felt it. He felt the ship shaking, everything, and heard all the noise and racket. And he had a window view, so he looked outside. He's like, "Oh wow, we've crushed the dock." The next thing he saw, over time, was about 100 ambulances lining up out there, and fire trucks and all this stuff.
Right.
So I was like, "Wow!" So that was not my own eyewitness account, but somebody I personally knew. And he wasn't hurt.
Nobody was on the dock. Oh my Lord!
I know. That's what I wondered too. Because all those ambulances there. He said if there wasn't 100 ambulances there wasn't any. It was between that and fire trucks. It was as far as you could see out there. And I was like, wow. So you just don't know when it could happen. I mean, how it could happen. But we do need to be a little bit prepared, which of course is going to take us to our second question right here. And we'll kick it over to you, Scott, to kick this one off. Is what should cruisers do to be prepared in case the ship has an accident or a disaster at sea of all these kinds I just mentioned? What's the best you can do to prepare?
Don't shake off that muster drill. Know your exit routes and know your evacuation routes beforehand. Don't say that it's not going to happen. Don't just shake it off. Don't say this is my 60th cruise. I know how to put on a life jacket. Yes, you know how to put on a life jacket. That is one part of the muster drill. The other part of the muster drill is knowing your evacuation boat, knowing the evacuation routes, right? Like my father always taught me, whenever you walk into a room, whenever you walk into anywhere that you put yourself into, know your exit. Okay, you're going in, but know if anything goes wrong, how to get out. Right. Same thing when you go into a grocery store, when you go into anywhere. Right. When you go in somewhere, if that place that you came in is not available to go out, you have to know where to go out. Okay. looking, scanning, knowing, right, to know what happens in a scenario like that. Okay, because if you are one that is caught, well, as they say, with their pants down, right, and things happen, you're I'm sorry, you're not going to make it, is what I'm trying to say. Okay, lightly, you're not going to make it. Okay, so you have to be prepared. Mental preparedness, mental preparedness,
Yep.
mental preparedness is your number one front line of defense that you should always be thinking, what's my exit? How am I going to get out of this situation if it gets greasy, messy, and I don't know what to do?
How about it, Alisa? What can you add to that?
Well, speaking of exits or maybe exit plans, when we were talking before, Chad, I immediately was thinking about the Carnival Freedom. You know, when it went out and the whale tail caught fire. Actually, coincidentally, I had actually gone out to Port Canaveral just to film, and so I saw that ship the week before it. The week before the accident. But anyway, I remember, excuse me, I'm sure everybody else does too, seeing everybody on the news when they were on the dock. All the passengers were on the dock and trying to figure out what was going to happen next as far as getting home, because everybody, we know about the closed loop cruise. Everybody doesn't travel on there with their passport. A lot of people still travel with their birth certificate or driver's license or something like that, but their ways of getting home were limited, or they were dependent on Carnival making arrangements or getting back on the ship to get back home, even if they didn't want to, because they didn't have the documentation to just kind of catch a flight out of Nassau or something and come home. So if at all possible, have your passport so that you can have another way of getting home easily. And of course, we always talk about the travel insurance. You want that.
Yeah.
That was crazy when that happened with the whale tail.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then I would also say, make sure, again, we know we're cruising on a budget sometimes, but you gotta have a little extra cash just in case.
You never know.
You never know.
You never know when the whale tail is going to go on fire. I mean, the second captain, right? When that happened, the second captain was like, the roof is on fire. And the captain was like this. He's like, no, the roof. Captain, look, the roof is on fire. Oh, the roof's on fire. So yeah, you never know when the roof is going to go on fire, but you have to. And they didn't have a hose to put it out. They had to let the nautical winds blow, and the mist gods just.
The ice carter ran out with a couple blocks of ice. Yeah, these are great tips. These are things that are very important to know. The travel insurance and the know where is your life jacket. It's great if you know how to put it on, but if you don't know where it is, you're kind of in trouble. Hey, bring an extra life jacket. Let me check my pocket. So also know if you got kids or somebody or some people traveling with you, know where they're at, where they're going to be. If something like that happens, have a plan. The muster station's supposed to be the plan. Go to your muster station, make sure your kids or whoever's with you knows where it's at, how to get there. It's very important, like Scott said, to know these things.
Or even like, I would even say add on, like, okay, I'm not a dad yet, even though I make really corny dad jokes, but thinking, even if you are a family, let's just say I'm a family of 4, right? My wife and 2 kids, right? You are not always going to be with each other, right? So let's just say a ship-wide disaster happens, right? Knowing in advance and saying, hey, if something goes down, we're meeting at the ice cream station. We're meeting here. We're meeting, you might not be able to get back to your room. We're meeting by the piano lounge. We're meeting, and so all 4 members of the family know, shit, if they hear they hear, hey, everybody, we're in a storm right now. Get, whatever it may be. We're meeting at the piano bar to figure out what the next course of action is for this family, right? Or even if you're just cruising, whatever, me and Alisa or me and Chet or whatever, Chet, something hits the fan, dude. We're meeting by Java Blue and we're gonna figure out what what we're doing. Like, hey, that is a mental prepared plan, right? And it puts you in the upper echelon of percentage of people that might survive a disaster. Okay, so
Yep.
That is a good point, especially about traveling with family with children. Lots of the kids clubs are very popular
Mhm.
with the kids, so they have activities and friends to hang out with.
right,
But something that they do tell you when you sign the kids up for those programs, that like in the event of an emergency, where they're going to be escorted too. But I don't know if that's our natural parental instinct to rely on that. And I
correct,
can see people easily like they're going to go find their kids. So
right.
like
Yeah.
talk about the plan, know what you're going to do, so that's one less, I don't know, fear is the right word in that kind of situation, but like have an idea of what you're going to do.
Correct. Because there's going to be chaos, right? In the midst of a disaster, chaos is going and it's not just going to be you. It's not going to be your family. It's going to be all 3,000 people on that ship that are going through chaos, right? So if you
Yeah.
can know that you have a plan of action in the course of chaos, right, to mitigate and take down some of that chaos, say, okay, we're meeting at the piano bar and figure out what we're going to do here. We're going to go to a room, get our passports, our life jackets, and we're going to our muster station. Cool. Okay, now we know. Right? Yeah, there's going to be some chaos in there, but if you started with chaos, you ain't even going to make it. Sorry. You're no. So,
Yeah, I mean, it's very important. It's important to think about it now before you get on the ship. That's why we're doing this. Know before you go here at
correct.
the Conscious Cruiser. And also got one last tip here, also for the people who are in scooters and stuff. The instructions for you are abandon the scooter. Get off the scooter and take the stairs. Nobody should be taking the elevator during a disaster event,
Right.
So you're going to have to get off of it and go down or up the stairs, whichever way you got to go, and then get to your muster station drill.
Yeah.
So, and that's something I thought about that, and that's what caused me to think about doing this episode, y'all. So, I forget. I was watching the Costa Concordia, and I was like, "Oh man, I'll tell you what. If I'm in the dining room and I'm in the wheelchair, I'm heading right up to go get my leg."
Right. Well, that's what as you were saying that about the scooter, that's a legitimate point though. What if you are wheelchair bound and you can't do that? So any tips, suggestions for that? Do they advise you something different when you're
No, they simply say take the stairs. That's the instructions. So this is something everybody got to think about. I've never even
Yeah.
thought about this much. I do have one leg, so I can hop down a stair if I have to. Right now at this age, now 15, 20 years from now, am I going to be able to do that? Probably not. And then if you're in a manual wheelchair, I have Robin from Sea Lake Journeys. Right now, I can get up or down stairs in a crab walk. I can up there as fast as some people can walk, probably.
Right.
And she can carry that wheelchair. But as well as I do, a lot of people riding the scooters and in some wheelchairs, they can't. They're not getting up down the stairs in any way, shape, or fashion. And so, something to know, something to think about. I don't have the answers for you. I don't have the answers for that, but I want you, even when we don't have the answers, if you have the answers, put it in the comments below.
Definitely.
And if you can find the answer, put it in the comments below, because we want to share the information. I know what I'm going to do. I can tell you what I'm going to do. I can crab walk up and down stairs, but I know I see people in the scooters and other wheelchairs that I'm like, there ain't no way. They're not going to be able to do that. Without the elevators, I don't know what they're going to do. I don't know. Because, some of them, you just can't carry them. And there's some people that are small enough, 2 people can pick them up and carry them, But who are the 2 people?
Right.
And some people it don't matter. 2 people are not going to be able to carry those people up or down stairs.
Right.
So something to think about before you go. Something to think about. But hey, you know what? Right now we need to check out our sponsor for today's episode. I hear it's somebody pretty awesome.
After all this, I need to check my mood. I don't know about you. I'm already there. This is. Let's check it, Alisa. Come on.
And this week's episode of The Conscious Cruiser is sponsored and supported by Alisa's Adventures in Cruising and the Monday Mood Check. Check out the Monday Mood Check every Monday at 4 p.m. Pacific and 7 p.m. Eastern. For some exciting cruise talk, munch pack reviews, and even some home cooking. So start of your week right every week with Alisa and the Monday Mood Check. Don't miss it. And now back to the Conscious Cast.
Look, I grabbed the cookie from the screen.
Man, that's like magic. I've got magic over there.
Also dropped my microphone.
You're welcome.
Thanks for that.
He's a magic cookie. I want one. All right. And so let's head off to our third question here. This is, in your opinion, in your opinion, is cruising safe, or are we just waiting for the next disaster? Alisa, is it safe?
Generally, yes, it is very safe. And we hear about these extreme situations every now and then, but those are, one in a million.
Yeah.
They do happen, and you should try to be prepared. But it's an accident. You can't. It's unpredictable. You can only prepare so much. I don't think that. I don't think that we definitely don't want to stoke any fears. We definitely don't want to scare people off from cruising, because we love it and we know what a
Right.
good time we have, and we feel like it's very safe to go, and the accidents or incidents are pretty minimal. Excuse me, but it is something to think about, and to have a backup plan, like Scott was saying, just in case. Just in case. What would you do?
Mm-hmm. Very true.
All right. Well, Scott, your opinion. You think cruising's still safe, or are we just waiting for another disaster?
Every now and then we fall apart, and I need. No, sorry.
Okay.
It does. No, I promise it doesn't.
Karaoke
It doesn't
tonight.
really
Sorry.
fall apart. It doesn't. I will say, with the cruise ship getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, okay, it is far less likely for a disaster to happen on one of these massive behemoth, even though you think they're larger and it's harder for them. No, for easier for them to come into a disaster. No, it's actually a lot harder for them to come into a disaster, even though they're going to the same ports, rinse, wash, and repeat. Okay, those bigger ships. Okay, it's like cruising or being in like a big bubble. I'm not saying that nothing can happen, right? But the bigger ship normally, okay, the safer you are, okay? And they're building them bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, right? So I think that we are going more towards the aisle of safety, especially with all of the technology that is equipped on these ships now. So obviously, I think the smaller the ship, transatlantics and your Hawaiis and your Alaskas, right? I think there's a little bit more risk there. You're going into a little bit more open ocean. You're going into a little bit more further open waters, right? So things can happen when you're spending 5-6 days at sea without seeing any land anywhere besides going crazy with everybody on the ship. But yeah, no, I think the bigger ships now, 2026 through 29 of what we're seeing evolve to these big classes that we don't even know what to call them yet. I think we're getting more safer than we realize than we actually are. Now the external things like the ports and things that are going on in the ports, robberies and heightened alerts where they're becoming from 2 to 4, where we shouldn't travel there. Those are things that are out of cruisers' control. They're out of everybody's control, right? That's not what we're really talking about. But as far as the ships and the safety, these big ships, you're safe. You are really safe. You're cruising in a big, hugeormous bubble. Hugeormous bubble.
We'll call that a Scottism.
You better trademark it now.
Trademark it, Scott. Scottism.
Hugeormous. If I was really good at it,
Yeah.
Stay tuned next week for a new Scottism. Yeah, I think it's safe. I think it's more or less safe. If I didn't think it was safe, I wouldn't be going. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So my own personal endorsement is I go, and I think it's safe. And I'm a dude who's half the time in a wheelchair and half the time on a metal leg. So, I think it's safe. And yeah, I think it is safe. And, like Scott said, you got bigger ships, the technology. And I've talked to several captains over the years too. I love the captain of the Carnival Magic when we was on there. I said, Captain, what do you do if you sail into a storm? He goes, a good captain doesn't sail into a storm.
That's true.
I love this guy. I want that guy to be captain of every ship.
True.
I think the training is enhanced with the cruise now too. I think they're really paying a whole lot more attention to safety of every kind, everything from making sure you don't get disease on the ship, and not running into the island that you're sailing around, and the fire situations they've had. They say, "Oh, we see a flawed design." They fix that. You never see that happen again on those ships. So it's absolutely safer. I feel 100% confident, and that's why I'm telling everybody, me and Captain Sealeg recommend cruising for you right here at the Conscious Cruiser.
Cruising for you, cruising for two.
I think we talked about that before about, and not always worth mentioning, like what the captain's job is, essentially to keep all of the ship safe, but to keep all of us safe too as well. And technology and the radar, the weather, whatever system that is that they monitor constantly. Sometimes we might get annoyed because we might miss a port or have to be diverted, but they do that oftentimes to avoid a weather system to go around or to get ahead of or something like that, because they don't want to sail you into the storm, like Chet is saying. So
yeah, they're going to avoid it, sure. Okay, now we're up to the question of the cast, everybody's favorite. This is the fun part, guys. Okay, hey, just pick one of those accidents or disasters that you know about, and what would you have done in that situation? Get to use your imagination. Everybody that's watching or listening on Spotify, put in the comments what maybe a sickness, illness, disease, accident, wherever you've heard about a cruise ship somewhere, and what would you have done different to help keep yourself alive or safe?
Do you think of, and this is interesting, this is going to be interesting, I think, to see what your reference point is, what's the thing what's the thing that you fear, the most? I used to think that the pandemic situation was my big fear, because I remember, I know I've given that story before about how I would drive past the cruise port and see the ships not able to come ashore, and thinking about being sick and trapped in the cabin. I didn't want to ever experience that again, but I'm back to cruising, so I think I got past that. So I think the scarier kind of disaster scenario that I think about is more like the Concordia, and just reacting quickly. You know what I mean? Like, you have to stay calm. I think Scott was saying that you have to stay calm and follow what you were taught in the muster drill, and get your life vest on and get to your muster station and be prepared to get off the ship. I know that was a weird situation. The captain didn't go down with the ship in that situation.
Very weird.
Don't get me on that.
Yeah, just be prepared to to follow those instructions and get off to safety, and not just kind of be frozen in confusion or fear.
Absolutely,
yeah. Scott, what about you?
I mean, honestly, you really can't. I don't think you can really pick a disaster or an accident. I think you just have to be prepared either way. I think you just have to. I mean, like I said, there's going to be chaos, right? Amongst everything. So I think you just have to make sure to maintain your calmness, because there's going to be a lot of chaos around the situation, and assessing that properly is really going to be the only way out, right? The only way to give yourself the chance of either surviving or making it back home. So yeah, just being calm, bringing a little calmness to whatever the accident or disaster may be, right? Because I don't think you can really measure one is worse than the other, a cruise accident or a disaster, right? I think they kind of go hand in hand, but I think you just have to bring a little calmness to the situation to get yourself in a right mind state to assess what needs to be done, what actually needs to be done, right? Instead of just kind of worrying about it. Or you could just go out out and do one of these and take the anchor and just. I think that might be more like a Chet thing. He's got like the whole ponytail going on. Like the Greek goddess of anchors. Be like, I got this.
Who's watching Scott? Who's watching Scott?
If you're going to go out on top. That's what I say.
That'll be a good one. He'd go right out on the bow, like in the gold armor. You know, I could see Chet in the gold. You know, it's like, I got this, everyone.
Don't forget my cape and my crown.
Yeah. So everyone like, Chet. He just sinks us in. He's like, and the whole boat just stops. Like, yay!
He's really thought about this, you guys.
I
Actually
really
just came in the last like 5 seconds, tell you the truth. So I don't know.
I really think overall, though, these are good answers because it's hard to imagine yourself in any of these situations.
Yeah.
You know, if you're on the poop cruise, what are you going to do? You saw what was happening on that ship. What would you have done? I sat there and scratched my head. What would I have done? Well, first I'd have followed the directions, like Alisa said, and I like Scott said, keep your head on. So don't be down there trying to get all those free drinks that they were handing out at the poop cruise. That's the last thing you need to do is get yourself like that. You need a clear head in those situations and make the right decisions. And, you know, the Costa Concordia, you know, you're waiting 48 minutes for them to even sound the alarm. Yeah. I'm like, what would I have done there? It's hard to really imagine until you're in those situations. It really is. Best you can do is be prepared. Like we talked about earlier in our episode, you know, make sure you've got your preparation as best you can. Know where your life jacket is, know how to put it on, know where your muster station drill is, how to get there, especially if you're in a wheelchair or scooter. What are you going to do? Have your extra medication on you, have your travel insurance, and you know, gather up some bottled water, you know, if you can, and carry that with you. It's just what little bit of preparedness you can do, and then keep a level head, like Scott said, you know, be prepared, like Alisa said. Give yourself that extra percentage of chance of getting through this without something bad happening to you, or I should say something worse. You're already in a disaster, right? But you know, so hopefully everybody picked up some tips here. Hopefully learned something, or at least got you thinking about something. If we got you thinking about it today, thinking, maybe I do need a little bit of preparedness. But you know what? It don't make me scared of cruising. It just makes me aware of being prepared. You know? That's all. We ain't trying to get nobody scared because we ain't scared. We're going to go. We're going to go cruising.
Be aware of being prepared.
Yeah. What he said. So, guys, we appreciate y'all coming here for episode number 76 and hanging out with us at the Conscious Cruiser, talking about cruise ship disasters and accidents and things like that, because they probably ain't going to happen to you. We hope they don't happen to you. And but just in case, we want you to be prepared. All right, so we're going to be getting out of here. Any last words from anybody?
We'll definitely see you at the mood check later.
I already beat you.
Scott beat me.
And if you go on over to Go Live Together after this, let them know #conscious read. Let them know that the Conscious Cruiser sent you on over to that Go Live Together crew. So we will see you right back here next Monday morning with something special, I think. Right? Special?
Another Scottism?
A ton of them. So we'll see you next week. Bye, y'all.
Bye.